Sasha and Carmelo from Arcanum Ventures back with our new series, Weekly Recap. This week, we're going to speak about a lot of crazy stories that happened in the past 7 days. We've got Chairman of the Fed is now enemy of the state. The highlights from CES, the most powerful tech event in the world. A former New York City governor launched and rugged a Memecoin apparently, and Google absolutely plastered across headlines with all of their updates within the world of artificial intelligence. Let's dive in. Our newest series, Weekly Recap, is going to cover all news within the worlds of artificial intelligence, technology and hardware, financial markets, and blockchain and cryptocurrency. We're very excited to kick this new series off. Before we dive in, I want to remind everyone, if you're liking this content or you like us in general, you want to see more, make sure you tap that like button and throw us a follow or subscribe. Check out the links below to join our community where we talk about these things on the daily. And let's go ahead and dive in. Carmelo, what do you got, man?
Yeah, Happy New Year. And we're excited for this new content. And we're still going to be doing interviews, but people have been clamoring for ages now. Like, guys, you got to do a weekly recap type thing. And so we're excited to do that. And this is our first time doing it. We're going to kick off with some financial news. The boring stuff, get it out of the way first. But this past week, the S&P 500 gained about 2%. NASDAQ is up. Russell 2000 surged. Treasury saw modest gains with mixed yields. And we're seeing a lot of movement in the rare earth metals like nickel, lithium, uranium, all rallied amid Chinese demand. It might have something to do with one of our next stories in the tech space. But before that, I think we have to talk about what happened with Jerome Powell. So if you want to dive into that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of drama around poor Jerome Powell, the, chairman of the SEC. He claims he's being threatened by the White House for not raising interest rates. We've got a video to show on that. And this was a sort of like maybe a strange type of like marketing exercise, and where he's confessing what's happening behind the scenes to the public. This is Jerome Powell.
On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation. I have served at the Federal Reserve under 4 administrations, Republicans and Democrats alike.
Oh my goodness. Carmelo, what's your take on this? I mean, it sets a pretty crazy precedent when we're talking about the president taking, let's say, back channel intimidation tactics to try and prop up, short-term finances to make his administration look quite good. At least that's what Jerome Powell is kind of implying, right?
Yeah, I mean, this story's been going on for a while now, even since Trump's first term. This has been happening, and there was that awkward speech where, they were talking at the actual renovation site when they're like refurbishing these buildings, the federal buildings, and he was just talking about. But there's a lot of intimidation. This is unprecedented. Like, we've never seen a city president threatening to remove or bullying. It's not up to the president to remove the federal chair. His term is up in a few months, actually. but bullying him into submission because he's not doing, like, these people are hired for a reason. They're foremost experts in the world, and they're doing what they believe is right based off their research and their findings. They're doing what they've always done to sort of steer the economy as they see fit. And the executive power in the U.S. has been growing more and more, and like now they want to take this under their purview. Like we want to manipulate the economy and do whatever we please with it. Like it's scary. Like it's scary. This should be scary for everybody in the world, not just Americans.
And I mean, funny note, Trump hired Jerome Powell, I believe, in his first term. Speaking of hiring, I think there's some other news coming up on what Trump's moves are. Yeah.
No, I think Powell, he's been serving under 4 different presidents. So he's been around for a while, actually, before Trump. But yeah, I mean, this is also quite funny. Like Trump is already lining up interviews with people he wants to take over. And obviously they're going to be buddies. Like, we got the CIO of BlackRock. Like how does that, only bad things can come from this, I think. Like there's too much collusion between the private sector and the government right now. And now we're seeing more of it. It's almost cartoonish at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if they're interviewing BlackRock CIO, we all know, that BlackRock has been making some very interesting moves in the financial market, specifically around commercial and residential real estate. And they, I think, in some indirect way, received some backlash from Trump in recent statements saying that houses are meant for people, not corporations, implying that he might be implementing some regulation or legislation to prevent large financial agglomerates from acquiring real estate like that. But it's a kind of strange reversal seeing him all of a sudden, speaking to the CIO of this company as the new Fed chair.
Yeah, apparently they're lining up interviews with several others, but this, I guess, if you look at Polymarket, which is the new oracle of truth and what you can expect to happen, I think he's like the leading candidate right now to take over in May, I believe. So let's see what happens there. But we got this typical revolving door between the private sector and the government. So I'm sure if he is the new Fed chair, he'll serve admirably, and then he'll go back to his job at BlackRock, and who knows what's going to happen in between now and then, but not a fan of what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, in other news, we're going to dive into, like I mentioned before, the largest and most notable tech conference in the world. We're talking about CES in Las Vegas, Nevada. And there were a number of incredible technologies that were showcased here across the fields of robotics, wearables, and everything in between. And so one of the interesting ones I saw was a wearable technology by Omi. Omi's a company that's essentially developed a amulet you wear around your neck to host ChatGPT at all times right around your chest. And the thing is always listening, apparently. At least that's what one of the representatives of the company at CES had mentioned. But they claim that it's going to help bring better automation and efficiency to setting tasks, setting reminders, taking notes, and essentially being like an all-around mental assistant. But I don't know if anyone's asked the questions around data privacy specifically there.
Or just why, yeah, of course it's always listening. The phones in our pockets are already tracking everything we do. And, I've seen so many people I once respected reduced to like fumbling, bumbling ChatGPT monkeys that don't know how to think for themselves anymore. And now we're going to take it a step further and have an amulet. I'm going to be so annoyed when I'm going to see some guy at Starbucks like, hey, which coffee do I usually order? Like you can't, there's been like so many studies proving that ChatGPT's like it's offloading the brain power that we're already expending to do menial tasks. And we're like losing the ability to do basic things now because ChatGPT, and God only knows what's going to happen when everybody has, the Meta glasses and the Omni wearables, but yeah, you and I are both seeing this trend, like wearable AI, bringing AI more and more into your life, even away from your computer and your phone. Like it's inevitable.
It's crazy that they openly said this is a Chat GPT wearable. Like, I'm sure they don't have a partnership with Chat GPT. They didn't even try to hide that they're a hardware wrapper around Chat GPT. They were like proud to mention that. It honestly seems like a drunken roundtable idea. But best of luck to Omi. Um, uh, Taking another step in hardware, Lenovo is making huge pivots in the world of repairability with their newest generation of ThinkPad X1s. They've got an entire lineup that they claim increases the repairability factor around their space. I think it's called like the space case chassis or something, but it allows the removal and replacement of like the battery, the keyboard, individual ports, the screen itself. And it's a complete opposite of what we've seen in the past as far as one of their major competitors, Apple, which I think if you think about, Apple and all their leading sales within the world of MacBook Air and MacBook Pro, Lenovo is definitely a top contender there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm no Apple fanboy, but I do have a few MacBooks that I use for work and stuff. And one of the few things that would actually lead me away from Apple and from using a MacBook is like this right to repair, this repairability. Like, you've been through it too in Vietnam. Like, you have to go find some random guy in a back alley to like replace the battery for you. And if you're not near an Apple store, it's impossible. And you can't do it yourself. Like me, I'm a practical person. I like taking tools and learning how to do it. When I had an HP Pavilion back in the day, I could replace the battery myself, just order a new one, replace it. And, I love that in Europe right now, they're putting a huge focus on this, like repairability, right to repair. You should be allowed to take it to anybody or do it yourself and not void your warranty or get in trouble with the company just because you're taking apart your computer and rebuilding it or modding it or whatever. So kudos to Lenovo. I'm glad to see more companies looking into that.
Yeah, I like this shift in focus back towards builders and hobbyists. And then, one of the funniest trends I saw in reviewing all the takeaways from CES is how many companies are slapping the label of AI on everything. One company in particular, I think many of our viewers and listeners might be familiar with Roborock. They're a notable company in the world of robot vacuum cleaners. They claim that they've developed a new model that they're calling the Saros rover that can now climb and vacuum stairs. And they say that it's now possible because of AI. Honestly, I don't think you need AI to be able to climb stairs. In my mind, like, it seems like maybe a simple algorithm. If there's a stair, climb it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, and Saros Rover sounds like something from a fantasy MMORPG or something, like an NPC. It's a really ominous sounding name for a robot vacuum cleaner. But yeah, I mean, like, we've been talking about our thesis for the new year, and one of them is like the intersection of AI and the physical world. And we're going to see like more purpose-driven, really hyper-specific applications for this. Not like these general purpose Boston Dynamic robots that you can push over, but like actual, they're good at one task or two tasks. You're right, though. I don't see AI as necessary for a robot. Like, Roomba's been doing just fine for years. It bounces into the wall. It has a little bumper, and then it changes its direction. AI seems a little bit overkill to me personally, but maybe, what do I know?
Honestly, it scares me to have AI in a vacuum robot. I don't want that in my house. That's just, it's kind of like a horror movie stuff. But, talking a little bit more about robots, and I'm not sure how much AI fits into this. I actually am quite skeptical, but the now infamous Chinese company EngineAI revealed their new lineup of fighting robots. Of all of the things that humanoid robots can be used for, I guess fighting is the thing that is the most interesting to many people. We've got a video of that I want to show you, Mello. This is kind of crazy considering the moves that this robot can make and the agility that it has. But here's the video now, and I'll go ahead and play this for everybody.
That's not no way.
Getting loose. Wow. All right. Well, I would not want to fight that thing. That looks quite scary.
I was going to say the opposite, like not to be all machismo, but like, at what point do you think robot fighters will be like serious enough to be able to like beat the hell out of us? Like, I think for now they're not there yet, where you can just target their weak points or something. But I don't know. I didn't have Real Steel, like that Hugh Jackman movie, on my 2026 bingo card, but maybe. I don't know. The first thing I thought of that video is like, who is this for? What is this for? Like, I know we're going to see like wide spending on defense tech in the next year, but like this doesn't really qualify as that. Like, I don't think we're sending these kung fu bots to the front lines of any major skirmishes right now. They're not there yet.
That is such a luxurious defense tech spend for any government. I was thinking the same thing. I'm not sure, when we're going to see human versus robot battles. But again, it goes back to the idea of the intersection between AI and robotics. And I don't know if any company has built this sort of like fast reaction AI to be able to implement in a humanoid robot to allow it to fight against a human. A lot of these moves, I think, are maybe pre-programmed, but it does show the amazing strides that you can make in the world of hardware, especially in what we've seen coming out of China and what's been displayed at CES. That's crazy progress. It's just strange that I don't know why Chinese companies seem to be the ones that are mainly focused on fighting robots. I don't see a lot of other countries, startups pursuing that narrative.
I mean, they're big on. It's authoritarian regime, and I saw an actually terrifying robot that they've developed. It's just like it looks like a droid from Star Wars, but it's just a rolling tire. It's like a ball with guns on it, and it has crowd disbursement mechanisms on it. It usually accompanies police, but it can also just like autonomously rove throughout the city at night when there's no police on duty. And, that's terrifying. I think more effective than like, we have this obsession in tech with like building androids or stuff that look like humans, but it's not really necessary. And that's where, going back to what I said before, like we're going to see really hyper purpose driven specific use cases for robots as this narrative unfolds in the next 2 to 3 years. But yeah, like, these androids are kind of gimmicky, in my opinion. I think we're going to see more like effective, like the robot dogs, for example, are a hell of a lot scarier and probably more effective. Like imagine, I saw the Black Mirror episode where the robot dogs chase everybody down and hunt them down. And that's enough for me. Like that's already scary enough. I'm not going to mess with those.
Oh my God, I don't even want to touch on that. And then all of the ethics around, gun safety or the lack thereof in China, potentially rolling out these robo guard balls. But those are the updates from CES, and there's a whole lot more. We'll be sure to maybe link some of the videos and articles in the links below.
Absolutely. And a little bit overlap here, but we're going to roll on over to AI because, you can't talk about any of this without talking about artificial intelligence before. It's like the biggest meta, arguably. So one of the biggest stories we flagged this week was the Pentagon wants to bolster national defense strategy by embracing Grok and training data set, informally known as X. So basically, they're going to be giving and feeding data from the U.S. government, from the military into Grok. They're going to be using it to, I don't know, in the command room, trying to determine what to do next. The situation room, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a little bit scary. But I think you've pulled up a clip here from the Secretary of War and Elon Musk, all buddy, arsenal of freedom.
Yeah.
A lot of American dynamism happening.
Let's give this dynamism a watch.
Thank you, Elon. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Today, we're excited to announce the next frontier AI model company to join GenAI.mil, and that is Grok from xAI, which will go live later this month. Very soon, we will have the world's leading AI models on every unclassified and classified network throughout our department. Long overdue. And we will not employ AI models that won't allow you to fight wars. We will judge AI models on this standard alone. Factually accurate, mission relevant, without ideological constraints that limit lawful military applications. Department of War AI will not be woke. it will work for us. We're building war-ready weapons and systems, not chatbots.
Oh my God!
For an Ivy League
I can't believe what I
lounge.
just watched.
Yeah, this obsession with woke, and I saw somebody on Twitter. They're like, "This is what they're going to be like." Imagine him in his office, like, "Grok, put a bikini on this android. Put a bikini on this this Tomahawk missile."
It's insane that, like, I mean, this is a really monumental announcement talking about we're going to take this consumer facing AI product and use it for national defense strategy where everything is at stake. And in that speech, you start alluding to, or like pandering to your base about anti-wokeness and anti-leftist stuff. Like, look, I don't want to get into politics here, but that's just like a really, really weird way to present that. And, as far as AI infrastructure and an AI model effectiveness, I think there are far better LLMs they could have used than Grok. Like, I'm pretty sure in a week, the U.S. military is now going to be racist as a result of implementing Grok. I don't know what kind of strange graphic images they're going to be using this to generate, but I don't know if it's going to maybe do what they say. It might just be smoke and mirrors and marketing for Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, maybe choose one that doesn't have like a pornography scandal on its hands and didn't call itself Mecha Hitler a few months ago. Like maybe any other option. But yeah, I like you said, it's not, for me, it's not necessarily political. It's just this embrace of Silicon Valley and all these tech companies. Like this collusion between these tech companies, they're getting more and more power. And, they have a lot of power over the government when it's usually the other way around. The government has power over companies. And it's a little bit scary how, like they can effectively hold our data in our capabilities hostage. They could put it on a subscription, a monthly subscription, like the US government owes us this much money every month because you're dependent on our data. You're dependent on our infrastructure and our AI now. And we all see, like I said before, we all see what happens when ChatGPT goes down for a day. All of your colleagues and people you network with, they become more useless. So imagine the US government going down because Grok is having an update or a minor glitch. So we need diversity in the technology we use. We can't just highlight like one company and be like, this is our go-to for this. We need to test every option, use every LLM we can and see what works. But yeah, it's without getting too political, like you see the people that were just on stage, they're all buddy. So of course they're throwing deals to each other. You see this sort of ring of kickbacks happening, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.
No, it always concerns me, the crossover from like a private to public sector when it comes to national security and defense. And I don't think that we're going to hear a whole lot more follow-up on this partnership with Grok because it is relating to national security. So that kind of makes the announcement, like the big show of it, a little bit more strange. But we'll see how that pans out. In the world of autonomous AI, NVIDIA at CES made an announcement with Jensen Huang releasing Alpamayo, which is their new vision language model, which they claim is going to revolutionize autonomous driving using a number of new benefits to their architecture. They recently developed a partnership with Siemens, and as we know, Siemens is big into the world of developing sensors to collect data from the environment and feeding that data back to potentially robotic systems. So this new partnership with Siemens also highlights the impact they could have for their more recent partnership with Mercedes-Benz, who claims they're already adopting the technology to be released in future vehicles for full self-driving mode. That's wild. And I know that Mercedes-Benz, I believe, has had a full self-driving program, or at least a desire to develop and release one for a long time now.
Yeah, I mean, all these companies are looking to that, especially with the success of like Waymo and these taxis from Tesla. Whether or not they're a good idea or not, there's no denying that they have an inflated sense of value and that everybody's talking about it. They're very, headlineable, for lack of a better term. So like, it's enough to pump market caps, and they look good. Robotaxis, I don't think I would ever want to ride in one. That scares the hell out of me. But yeah, if anybody can do it, it's NVIDIA, right? Like,
yeah,
It's a competitive space, but NVIDIA is, I think it's the biggest company in the world now, right? It's by a long shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have the resources, they have the sway, they have the capabilities, they have the money, they have the war chest, they have the backing of the government. So of course they're going to be looking to this too, which just signals that this is a huge opportunistic market. I think we haven't even approached like the tip of the iceberg yet for autonomous driving.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think autonomous driving software is a market that we don't really know what is going to result as far as regulation and adoption. I think not a lot of people have spoken about what needs to happen for people to feel comfortable with autonomous driving software and technologies. But in a competitive landscape, it's kind of strange to think how that might evolve, right? Because you have different companies that are developing autonomous driving software in a bubble. Maybe they're better at one thing or the other, but ultimately, if this software is adopted, then we're going to see full self-driving almost everywhere. And it kind of begs the question about what types of standardizations are we going to expect here? And so, if you're going out to buy a new car, to use an analogy, if you were to buy a car where they have a history of having like maybe some sketchy or faulty seat belts, you probably wouldn't buy that car. So it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of apples are shaken from the tree once autonomous self-driving is more fully developed.
Yeah, I mean, there's been like lawsuits for car companies for ages about like brakes and, tires and axles and stuff. And now it's just another thing to worry about. Like, is the AI up to speed? The sensors working properly? Me personally, I love driving, so I'm a little bit depressed by this future of everybody autonomously driving, and you're gonna have to worry about dodging these drivers, I guess, or maybe it'll improve driving. We don't know. We've driven in Vietnam and in Sicily and Albania and all over the world, India. So I've seen some truly bad driving. Maybe it's a good thing for humanity. I'm not sure yet. And lastly, I think after that, we have Google made some major headlines this week. You're right. Like, there's a lot going on, and it's almost too much where like these major headlines that might have been the story of the month before, now they're just like another headline of the day. So Google AI has been adopted by DeepMind and Boston Dynamics. It's a partnership from Gemini-powered Atlas robots, and this was announced at SES. So big week for SES and everything.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm sort of like going against the trend here, but I find it really strange that we see so many companies hell-bent on developing like the world's best humanoid robot. I don't think that humanoid shape and form for a robot is useful in many applications. The one business justification that Elon Musk claimed for the Atlas, and I think it's the Optimus robots, is that they're going to be able to help with human-based tasks like laundry or healthcare, maybe even surgery. But we've seen surgical robots that are of a different form factor that are incredibly good at performing very precise surgery. Yep. When it comes to a robot that helps you fold your laundry, I don't know if there's a huge business justification now. Maybe later, when these things have better AI systems integrated, maybe if it has a ChatGPT amulet around its neck, that can make it a little bit more useful. But I just don't see the drive, like the race right now. All these companies are sinking a bunch of money into these programs, and I don't think the sales are going to be there by the time that they hit the market.
Yeah, it's also interesting. I agree. Going back to what we said before about the humanoid robots, and it's interesting too. Like, I had no idea that Boston Dynamics was owned by Google, and they sold the company, and now they're working together again, which is pretty incredible.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's like a nice little fun fact. It's always nice to learn something. But yeah, I agree. And in other news as well. So we mentioned that Google had a big week. They also partnered, Apple selected Gemini, obviously built by Google, to power the upgraded Siri that's going to be launching later this year in 2026, and also broader Apple Foundation models using Google's cloud while prioritizing on-device private compute for privacy. This is a non-exclusive deal that extends Google's iOS search dominance, bypassing full in-house build after delays. OpenAI remains integrated separately. So this is weird because these are like massive rivals, but I think this is kind of Apple throwing in the towel, saying like, hey, listen, Google's so far ahead right now. We're just not gonna overtake them. So we might as well, if you can't beat them, join them. So really interesting. Like this is a major headline too, but I haven't seen anybody talking about it.
Yeah, and, these companies interact across different business segments, and they've been doing it for years. And so, whatever, I think it's like $20 billion a year that Google pays Apple to be their primary search on Safari, that may just be stricken out by like Apple using Gemini for Siri. But it does show, and this is kind of what we expected to see, maybe in the longer term. Look, all of these Mag 7 companies, they have a lot of user data, and that's particularly due to Apple's network across hardware devices and cell phones and mobile phones and laptops and desktops, Google across software and productivity tools and cloud compute, and Amazon as well, right? They all have mass amounts of user data. And so they were all fantastic candidates to start building foundational LLMs or AI or machine learning models from, right? But as the landscape becomes more competitive, some of them are going to eventually drop out because maybe they don't want to participate in that race. Maybe they can make more money, or they have a better, business viability in doing something else. And for Apple, that might just be continue to focus on hardware and continue to create better integrations across their ecosystem. And so, that's kind of what we're seeing here is Apple throwing in the towel and Google saying, okay, we'll provide you this foundational model for your Siri client to work, which is what Apple wanted for a long time anyways. They wanted like better AI integration. But it does show that Gemini has made huge strides in the past 6 months or so. Now Gemini is being integrated across all sorts of different platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was the story of the latter half of last year and going into this year, that Google is going to become the major player in AI. You're absolutely right. And with like Nano Banana and some of these late Gemini models that are overtaking ChatGPT, which was previously seen as like the industry leader, it's going to be interesting to see this race heat up. Like who's the current king of the hill for the AI sector for these LLMs, at least in generative AI.
Yeah, 100%. There's so much more news around the world of AI, but we're going to go ahead and dive into the world of data sovereignty and how that kind of interacts with AI. And it's funny because in many of these news articles that we're covering, we're seeing the same like cast of characters. Elon Musk has recently received warnings from both European and UK lawmakers about Grok's recent use in making graphic, intimate deepfakes and even some content featuring children. But this is a bigger part of a bigger growing concern around the progress around AI-generated deepfakes. We've seen a lot of AI slop and AI overtake across these social media platforms that make it very difficult to distinguish what's real and what's not. One example, Mello, I wanted to show you this, and it's a deep fake that somebody created for a parody account for Donald Trump following the attack on Venezuela and the capture of Nicolas Maduro. And this is a deep fake version of Donald Trump talking about that. All right.
Hola, amigos. Yo soy su nuevo presidente, el señor Donaldo J. Trumpo. Your ex-presidente, el señor Maduro, is no longer your presidente. He kept talking shit, and fucking around, though, and he ultimately found out.
Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I mean, it sounds exactly like him. It looks a lot like him. It's comedic and it's engaging, right? So it did its job of creating valuable entertainment content. But again, like it just goes to show that this technology can be used for evil, right? We've seen the use of this more recently around the protests in Iran, and X and TikTok and YouTube have been the sort of house for misinformation and disinformation, using AI-generated fake content or misleading content or old content that's been repurposed to kind of shift the narrative. And it's again, part of this really strange growing trend that we're seeing where people with alt accounts or undoxed accounts, or maybe accounts where they have some ulterior motives, they're trying to create controversy to gain engagement and then maybe potentially monetize that engagement later. But it's doing, in my opinion, the world a great disservice.
Yeah, I mean, you have social media algorithms, bad for humanity. You have AI, arguably bad for humanity, generative AI. And now you're combining them to make this unholy abomination. And, that video was a little bit more benign because you can tell it's AI. I mean, I've never seen Trump dressed like that. He obviously can't speak another language. It's very obviously AI, but the more malicious uses are like the ones you mentioned in Iran, like used to destabilize countries, put out misinformation. This is what's worrying. And thankfully, in that video you shared earlier, this Chinese robotic video, they did a good job saying this is not AI generated. This is not CGI. This is like real time. And hopefully we're going to see a new standard in the next year or two where we're going to have to very clearly say what it is beforehand. So like people know, but like, our parents' generation, like, God help them, because when they see videos, they have no idea what they're looking at. They think everything's real, or they think everything's fake. Both are dangerous. So, I would hope to see some more pushback on this, but let's see. It depends on it. It's very political now, and it depends on the country. I see some countries are lobbying lawsuits against Musk right now, especially for this sexualization and making these generated. A lot of people last week when I came back to work from the break, everybody was putting bikinis on each other on Twitter underneath a photo saying Grok put a bikini on this, and was just doing it for, it doesn't matter who it's for. So this is what the human mind wants to do with this technology. And some countries are not happy about that. So we're going to see some bans potentially for X in some countries. Whether that's going to be effective or not, who knows? But I think they're already talking about it in like Indonesia, for example.
Yeah. It's funny what you mentioned, that I had to have a come to Jesus moment with my parents about TikTok last week, kind of like explaining the process of like engagement farming, monetization, rage bait, because, they're just getting lost in that world. But yeah, I think it's really sad to see what's happening. Maybe in the midterm, Elon Musk can take advantage and implement a new pay for bikini usage of Grok. I think a lot of people.
That's what they did actually.
Goodness!
They're like, hey, we're not going to solve this problem. We're just going to pay gate it. It's like, so you can still do it. You just got to pay me money first. So obviously they're not taking it seriously.
Good for them. I guess they're making money off of it.
Yeah. So, I guess that's it for privacy, data sovereignty news. And we're going to move on to blockchain and crypto. Obviously, there's always some wild stuff going on in that space, but we're just going to start real quick by mentioning, because Sasha and I, we don't look at the charts so often anymore. We kind of just set it and forget it. But this week, past 7 days, Bitcoin back solidly above 90K US dollars. I'm not sure what it is in euros or francs or other currencies. So hovering around 93, 94, 95. And Ethereum rose above into the low 3000s, thanks potentially to the upcoming U.S. Clarity Act, which will be in session and hearings in the upcoming week. So a lot of people looking eagerly to see what happens there. A lot of legislation potentially coming out that's going to clarify what we can and can't do, at least in the US, as far as crypto goes. I think that's going to be beginning on January 15th and going for a while. So who knows what's going to happen with the Clarification Act?
Yeah. Well, hopefully, we do see a lot of clarity around, let's say, stablecoin, DeFi usage, etc., coming soon. We can link our Boom Room discussion with Zach Shapiro from Rains Law, where he talked about some of the frictions within the U.S. government in adopting some of these use cases or regulation thereof. In other news, Dubai bans privacy tokens in a very surprising move. And so this is coming after some statements that they made saying that they want to pursue a policy of greater compliance norms that are adopted globally. They're banning the access to privacy tokens across a number of exchanges, citing that they're tied to money laundering activities. Melo, what's your take here? I mean, in my mind, the mission of some of these privacy companies that issue these tokens are to do the world some good and provide some safety measures that can ultimately be adopted as compliant.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously one of the narratives that we're looking at most in 2026. I am not surprised by this headline. The most surprising part is that it was Dubai, already a tax haven. I would think that they have, they want to get theirs, but I'm surprised. Like, I think a lot of people move there for the financial privacy and for, a really low restriction area for finance. But I guess they're cracking down. Coincidentally, we're seeing like major surges in all of these staple privacy coins like Dash, Zcash, Monero, Pirate Chain. They're all up. Even Zcash, which had a little bit of controversy last week with the original team leaving. But yeah, I don't know. This kind of isn't surprising to me. I maintain that it's always going to be privacy for the elite, privacy for the governments, and privacy for the major companies like BlackRock. And it's going to be bitter transparency for you and me, for the regular people out there. I mean, I consider us regular people still. I don't think we've ascended to uber wealthy people yet. But yeah, everybody gets transparency. We're going to know exactly what's in your bank account. They already do. They know everything. They can audit you at any time. But if you want that privacy, it's going to maybe be monetized and be like, you have to purchase the right to maintain privacy. Maybe that's their angle. Maybe they want to reserve it exclusively for the uber wealthy, the sheiks and the royal families and all that stuff. But yeah, it's sketchy. But I kind of maintain too that this is not, I love privacy and I know you do too, but it's not a very investable narrative in the sense that, they're not going to willingly let privacy happen for all of us. They're going to fight it bitterly to the bitter end. So we're going to be clever using ZK or other technologies that like can reserve privacy for us, but also have optionality where, they can access your records if they need to. I guess that's the angle. It's the same with Circle and Tether being able to reverse transactions. Like, you want to be compliant, you got to give us a backdoor to reverse or delete money that's been implicated in a crime. So maybe it's the same with privacy in Dubai.
Yeah. I wonder how it's affecting the charts for these tokens, but we'll see how it pans out. I think, Dubai they don't have a reputation for backpedaling on some of this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is in the coming months, maybe a year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not impacting them at all. They're still surging, so they're doing fine. And maybe that's just them. Like, to be honest, most privacy coins, they're not being bought on exchanges either. Like or people are just buying them to speculate. They're not actually using them. So I don't think this is going to impact much. Like, people in Dubai probably aren't buying them in a secretive way. But let's see how they actually enforce this too. Because how do you enforce that everybody is compliant and not buying these tokens in some wallet that you don't know about? But yeah, interesting. We're going to be following this closely because we're going to be taking a bigger look at privacy as the year progresses. But I don't know. I think this might be the main story of the week for crypto, at least. But I don't know if you saw this. Eric Adams, the ex-mayor of New York City, he just ended his term last year. He launched a Memecoin with Hayden Davis, the guy that was behind Trump and Melania tokens, and the Argentinian rug pull token. So they launched a Memecoin and I think removed liquidity within days. So here's the hype up video here with you can see the community notes are already there that former Mayor Adams immediately withdrew his liquidity from the coin in what is typically called a rug pull.
Let's take a look.
Mayor Eric Adams back in Times Square this morning to launch one of his first enterprises since leaving office. He unveiled a new NYC token. He says it's part of an effort to fight anti-Semitism using cryptocurrency.
We know cities can run better, and by using this New York City token, we're going to continue to invest in making our city a safer city. I am not going anywhere.
That is so wild that they say they're launching a cryptocurrency to combat anti-Semitism, and nobody bothered doing a quick Google search for Hayden Davis to understand what his track record is before deciding to work with him. Honestly, in my 2026 crypto bingo list. I did not expect that guy to be alive still after what happened with the Melania token and Argentinian. What is it? The Argentinian
the Malay
Libra
token.
Yeah, all these things. It's wild. I thought he made out with like $30 million and went on the run or something, but I guess not. I guess he's still rugging countries and cities.
Yeah, 30 million buys you a lot of protection and bribes and security detail, I guess. But yeah, it's even more insane that he's like in the US helping do this. But, Eric Adams is a grifter and he didn't wait long. He just left office and he was already thinking like, how can I milk my status as a former mayor? How can I like appropriate the name of New York City and launch a token that most New Yorkers don't care or know about? But you're absolutely right. Like, I think people know the risks. That's the degen aspect of crypto. You know that Hayden Davis has evolved even. You know that it's likely to be a rug, but you still have this arrogance that I can make my money and then get out quickly. But that's oftentimes not going to be the case.
These memes in the comments are awful, but I mean, it just goes to show. I cannot believe that this is something that we are continuing to see. And any government official or celebrity that's launching a meme coin in today's day and age, they know exactly what they're getting into, right? There's nobody that is in their ear that isn't telling them, hey, this is associated with a scam. If you pull liquidity, you're going to have a lot of controversy because everyone, even non-crypto normies, know what a rug pull is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the U.S. too, so you're always you can pay your way out, get a bribe for a pardon. So I think Eric Adams is fine. This guy's fine, obviously. I think everybody that launched the Trump coin, they're fine. They're not going to face any legal repercussions anytime soon. So yeah, I think we as an industry, in the crypto industry especially, we need to make it's like a do not fly list, but like a do not work list, and this guy needs to be on it. So anybody that works with this guy, Hayden Davis, on my do not work list. Like, we are not going to be affiliated with somebody that's affiliated with that guy. If you choose to work with people like that, then it says a lot about your character and what your role in the industry is and what you're looking to do. We don't want any part of that. So I think we need maybe the community needs to start working on a list like that, like a big ledger.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very disappointing to see this continue to happen.
Yep.
Anyways, all right, what do we got next, man?
And we're going to round it out with like the biggest fundraisers of the week. So there was a lot of fundraising action. I think everybody coming back, especially the VCs and funds like yourself, coming back from the holidays and, warming back up and deploying capital. So we're just going to run through some of them. The biggest that I saw personally, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. XAI raised $20 billion in a Series E, cementing its position as one of the most heavily capitalized generative AI challengers in the market. And obviously, we alluded to it before, but the U.S. government's going to be working with them. No coincidence that they pulled the $20 billion check last week or two. So, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, that's coming in light of recent fundraisers that have been announced by OpenAI and Anthropic as well. It's kind of battle of the valuations at this point, and we're getting into Series E. You don't see Series E very often, right? Eventually, when you get past Series C or D, you hope that you have a lot of revenue and profitability in your company, but it goes to show that this is maybe a race to the bottom in this AI bubble. These companies are desperately trying to get funds to survive and muscle each other out. OpenAI even recently announced that they're gunning for an IPO that's only several months after raising their Series F. So you really wonder what's under the hood in the finance of these companies. But yeah, we'll see how that unfolds, I guess.
Yeah, these are the new too big to fail companies, I think. Nobody's ever going to let them fail. There's too much money circling around between them all and the government. So absolutely.
Yeah. So in other news, Discord files confidential paperwork for an IPO, marking a potential reopening of public markets for this consumer tech. And that's kind of wild because I wouldn't expect Discord to go for an IPO. And again, in this market, my first thought is if you're going for an IPO, you're looking for a liquidity event and maybe you're struggling financially. But we know that Discord has been widely used more recently as a home to organized protests against autocratic governments in certain countries over the last year. So that's really interesting. They're coming up with a strong marketing push, maybe to dive into this IPO. I just haven't taken a deep look into what their finances might be, but it'll be cool to see what that looks like.
Yeah, or what the competition is as well. But yeah, you're right. And it's a little bit weird. I'm not sure when that date will happen or what the valuation will be. But yeah, we saw that story with Nepal last year. They effectively chose a new government. Like we were calling it Nepal DAO. They chose a new government on Discord, like thousands of youth. I don't know if they'd use that in marketing video, but yeah, still the major applications are gaming, of course, the first bread and butter for the company, and DAOs. Like we as an industry as well in crypto, we still have not found a better tool to manage DAO infrastructure than Discord, which is unfortunate because I personally don't like using Discord, but hopefully somebody can unseat them and make better DAO tooling in the next year.
Yeah.
And other news, A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz, the biggest fund in the world, or one of them, venture fund, raised over $15 billion in new capital, reaffirming its scale advantage and long-term bets on stuff like AI, crypto, infrastructure, and American dynamism, which is a big one, which is basically a fancy way of saying defense spending, which is obviously, in light of recent geopolitical actions, it's heating up. So every country is going to be investing more in defense. So it makes sense that they're investing in that as well. But $15 billion is a lot of capital to raise in the beginning of the year.
That is a ton of capital, and I'm sure they've been working on that for a little while. But everyone knows A16Z is one of the biggest, if not biggest, players in the world of venture. Their name is involved. Their name is attached to mostly everything, and maybe this American dynamism is following the major success that we've seen coming from Anduril and Lucky Palmer, and his private sector company, and providing new modern warfare solutions to different governments around the world. But yeah, A16Z, I wouldn't say solidified, but they've reaffirmed their space as a top dog with this massive amount of capital that is essentially going to be, in lack of a better sense, driving a lot of the innovation in the American economy. So, we'll see what their deployment strategy looks like. They chose some sectors that are very broad, considering that one of the big takeaways that we had from CES is AI is being slapped onto vacuums now. But we'll see how this unfolds.
Yeah, and I don't know what the exact split is, but it was in the article. But they're splitting between the funds, their major funds, so like $5 billion here, $1.5 billion here, which is kind of crazy. Like that's an insane amount of money. But maybe they didn't have to work all that hard. Their name sort of speaks for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Corgi AI raises $108 million from Y Combinator and Kindred Ventures, pointing to a renewed momentum growing in the AI-driven insurance platform space. AI has been
everywhere.
At least, it's everywhere, but also AI infrastructure being used for insurance adjustments, premium estimations, everything. This is becoming way more of a meta. And we're especially talking about a data and calculation heavy industry. So that's a perfect use case for it. Of course, we're starting to see more interest, not only on the development side, but the funding side behind that. There's real business justification there. But, strange enough, I'm sure Y Combinator, Kindred Ventures, and others must realize that when we're talking about AI applications within the field of insurance, this is definitely a front runner game, right? There's probably not going to be a lot of room for several different key players here. So maybe they're making big bets behind Corgi AI with this deployment.
Yeah, interesting name too.
I like corgis.
Yeah, great dogs. And the last one, it's Constellation Energy announced a $26.6 billion acquisition of Calpine Corporation. I think it's a Houston-based company, your old stomping ground. The largest deal of the week and a major exit for Energy Capital Partners. So this signals an aggressive consolidation in critical energy infrastructure. I don't know. This is more your purview, the energy sector. But what do you think about that?
I am ashamed to admit I don't even know what Calpine Corporation is. I know, like based on your headline, it's an energy company, and it's an acquisition of an energy company by an energy company. But this is not really a surprise, considering that if we're talking about energy, one of the biggest sectors within that industry itself is oil and gas.
Mhm.
The cost of crude oil in Brent and U.S. Texas crude, those have been low for a while. Companies are suffering. We're seeing a lot of news around, the capture of Maduro in Venezuela and essentially the opening up of that market. We're talking about the protests in Iran that are turning into a new revolution in Iran potentially, and the expansion of that market. What many people don't understand about the energy sector, specifically oil and gas, is that there is a minimum viable threshold of crude oil for many different fields to operate under. And that those fields are dictated by the geology and many other factors like equipment age and efficiency. And so as an example, drilling and producing oil from northern Canada, you're not going to see good profits unless the price of oil is above $80 or so. Whereas in Saudi Arabia, the joke in the inside of the industry is that you could poke the ground with a straw and oil will come out. So their lifting costs are much, much lower.
Yeah.
It makes sense in a climate like this that you start to have some consolidation. You have some bigger players buying out some other players because it gives them access to new fields, maybe new leases they didn't have before, and other equipment. So I think this is something that we're going to continue to see, especially considering that Trump is going to do his damnedest to ramp up production within Venezuela, or at least have some motivating factor there. And then we'll see from the fallout of the protests and revolution in Iran. And our thoughts are with the protesters there.
Yes. And just on that note, in Venezuela, did you see I think the CEO of Exxon said they absolutely are not even close. They're years away from building the infrastructure to capitalize on Venezuela, even if that were the goal, which I believe it is with this administration. But yeah, not even close. So maybe that was the motivation, but nobody really thought that one out except for the actual companies involved.
It's the world's largest proven oil reserves, and it's producing a small fraction of other reserves. And so it just goes to show you that the infrastructure is outdated. It's not efficient. They drill these wells, and maybe they're not positioning them in the right place. The wells end up seeing diminished production after several months. Yep. So this is not something that happens overnight. This is something that happens over years. Mm-hmm. But I think it's still the sentiment's going to continue to keep the market balanced and low.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Nice take from you. I don't know much about this, not my area of expertise, so good to get those thoughts out there. And yeah, I believe that's it. I mean, there was, like I said, many more fundraisers that happened this week. I think some IPO announcements and some acquisitions as well. But we just wanted to keep it light, especially for the first episode.
Light indeed. And that's wrapping up the last 7 days or so, give or take. Give us some room there. But 7 days in the world of AI, tech, finance, and crypto. Your very, very good and handsome friends at Arcanum Ventures, Carmelo and Sasha, and very happy to sit here and start this new space, this new weekly recap for all of you. Make sure you tap that like button and throw us a follow again if you're enjoying this. We've got more weekly recaps and Boom Room interviews coming up, more exciting content from our sister podcast, Utopia and Beta. And until then, stay safe out there. Stay smart, y'all.
And Happy New Year, everybody.
Take care. Ciao.